So, as I brought up before, we have three lead generation methods we're going to focus on over the course of the rest of this program. It's going to be cold email, then we're going to focus on Upwork, and then we're also going to do communities. All three of these lead generation approaches revolve around case studies. Now, what is a case study? There are many definitions, but what I care about is the following. I care about accomplishments or associations that you get to claim involvement in. And personally, the way that I do it is I structure them in this form. I helped company name or type do accomplishment. Sounds pretty simple, right? Now, why is this important? Because it cuts through all the noise. You can't just say, I'm a good marketer, or I help companies grow, and then still expect to close a ton of deals, especially when you're working in competitive mediums like cold email or Upwork, where people will really only give you a few seconds to make your case. Your goal is to explicitly show why you are different from everybody else, and the only way to do that isn't complete, utter horseshit is your credibility. It also mitigates perceived risk on behalf of the customer. Now, the number one scariest thing a customer will ever do is to give money to somebody that does not have a defined track record, because at that point they're throwing it into the wind. That's why they never do it, right? Case studies are the number one way to answer the question, does this person know what they're doing, before it's asked, and thus substantially improve your likelihood of closing a deal. The last point is, by developing case studies now, it's going to make everything that we're about to do much easier. Writing our cold email copy is going to be a breeze when you have a case study where you got somebody a 10x ROI. It'll also be a breeze to write your website. It'll be a breeze to do your Upwork profile. It'll be a breeze to write your community bios, etc. Case studies are essential, so we can't really move on without them. Now, I know the number one thing that most people are probably thinking is, dude, I don't have any. But if you're like many people here, you're probably thinking, hey, I don't have any case studies. I've never worked for myself. I've never done anything cool for clients. But the reality is that's almost definitely not true. Of the 500 automation companies I've consulted with, the vast majority of them, even ones that were at the very beginning of their career, sort of like you are right now, had some pretty impressive ass case studies. In reality, you're simply used to your own accomplishments because you live and breathe them every single day. If you can't come up with something, it's because you just aren't thinking outside of the box enough. So, to make this simple, here are a list of case studies that I've gathered from my own businesses, so ones from me, as well as some of the 500 automation companies that I've consulted with. The goal here is to get you to intuitively understand the structure and then just pattern match what a good case study looks like. And it is nowhere near as complicated as most people make it out to be. Here's a big list. I scaled a content marketing agency to $92,000 a month in under a year. That's great. I grew my YouTube channel to 23,000 subscribers in 7 months. Awesome. I sold over $100,000 in digital products in 29 days with 93% margins. I booked an HVAC company 48 appointments in 6 days. I generated $485,039 in revenue for a recruitment company in 2 months. I personally acquired over 1 million customers for Discord. I built automated systems for Porsche. I made over $3 million in profit for NZXT. I've saved over $1.2 million for Procter & Gamble. I built sales and marketing dashboards for Samsung. I grew an online arbitrage business to over $40,000 in monthly revenue. And I built software for Amazon, $2 trillion market cap, that automated their AWS backend. These are just a few, and as you can see, they vary both in specificity and accomplishment. Some are very vague, some are very precise. As you probably picked up, the best case studies do claim specific dollar amounts. So this one's great. This one's fantastic. This one's incredible. This one's just stupid. Both of these are. I mean, those are just nuts. And these are from real people that I've worked with. But the point that I'm making is the best studies claim specific dollar amounts, so just prioritize them wherever possible. If you don't have or know of any dollar amounts, the second best case studies are going to claim percentages. They're going to claim users. They're going to claim number of booked appointments or something like that. And lastly, if you don't have any numbers, it's not the end of the world. If the company is big enough or noteworthy, you can still use it. I just recommend you claim a monetary association, the market cap, the company revenue, how much money they make in a year, how much money they save people, or that sort of thing. My goal is you should just be avoiding vague claims like, I helped agency A grow a ton, because that's dumb and nobody cares. To help you find yours, here are a list of questions that you should ask yourself to try and identify these noteworthy accomplishments or associations. If I were you, I'd just copy and then paste these into your day 2 Google Doc. The first is, what companies have you worked for directly, either in a 9-to-5, a consulting role, or as a freelancer? The second is, what companies did those companies work with? What kind of results did they routinely deliver? Third is, how much money or revenue did each of the companies you've worked with in the past make? And if you don't know, is there any way you could find it out? Could you do some research, check out their Crunchbase? Could you ask some old coworkers there, that sort of thing? Have you ever consulted or given advice to or provided a service for an extremely successful company or individual? How about other people that you've worked with? What kinds of results have you gotten for yourself? Have you built a company in the past? Have you grew social media pages? Have you helped a friend with their own business? Have you partnered with anybody? Have you ever worked in any special industries? Have you been associated with any noteworthy brands or people, even just in passing? Have you ever won any awards? Have you ever received any recognition? Have you ever been featured in publications? Have you spoken at any conferences or events? Now, you will undoubtedly have answers to these questions that will not be no. I know that for a fact. Even 15-year-olds have answers to these questions that are positive. Even 10-year-olds that are still in elementary school or primary school probably have answers to these questions. So once you have a few potential options in mind, here's what you should be brainstorming. The first is the company or the individual that you worked with for each of these, the specific accomplishment or association that you can claim involvement in, some specific metrics or results. If possible, dollar figures are best, but don't get hung up on that. The time period this took place in, and then any other relevant details or context that make your achievements seem more noteworthy. What you'll do next is build your case studies using the format above, and all you need for this is 3. Once you have 3, you can move on to the next step. Now, I'm not saying you should just stop at 3, come up with as many of these as you can and then filter for the best ones. Just know that the ones that really, really crush it tend to be specific, tend to have monetary associations, tend to be working for big companies. So if you're making a choice between I worked for Microsoft and I worked at the bagel shop across the street, obviously you're going to choose Microsoft. If you're trying to choose between I helped a content agency make $450 million in 3 days versus I helped a content agency book some appointments, choose the money one. These are the axes on which you should be rating the quality of your case studies. Now, get after it.